Page 61. Factors to consider in buying computer device. After exploring the demand to use the computer, the next step is a set of features or specifications of the computer as well as determined budget to consider purchasing computer devices to meet requirements at a reasonable price. Factors to consider in buying CPU. Number 1. Determine the purpose of using computer, then specify appropriate speed of CPU for processing. If buying a high-performance CPU to use with the basic jobs that do not need to use the capabilities of those processors, that would be wasteful and useless. Number 2. Price per performance is important because CPU from different brands might not have the same speed, but it might have the same or similar efficiency because CPU of each brand will have different CPU structure that could make various processing speed. Number 3. It is good to select CPU that has a large cache memory because it could reduce bottleneck problem that has happened when the speed of main memory is lower than the speed of cache. Page 62. Factors to consider in buying main board. Number 1. Select form factor to suit the computer such as ATX, Micro ATX, or Flex ATX, and the case for placing mainboard is different as well. Number 2. Have to buy a mainboard that has a socket match with the CPU type. For example, if using LGA CPU or PGA CPU, has to buy mainboard with similar sockets that can be compatible with Intel or AMD CPU. Number 3. Chipset on the mainboard has to support the work because chipset is a measure of the performance of the mainboard. Number 4. The ability to accommodate the size and speed of the RAM. Should select RAM that have standards compatible with RAM DDR3. Number 5. Select the mainboard that support PCI Express slot for inserting cards because it is a current standard of additional cards such as video card and sound card, etc. Number 6. Mainboard brand can be selected from the brands that are still selling in the market and recognized for a long time such as Asus, Gigabyte, Intel, and so on. Page 63. Factors to consider in buying RAM. Number 1. Should select RAM that use less time to access memory. Number 2. The operation speed of RAM. Number 3. Standard of the RAM that can be used in the present and also support the future, such as DDR2 RAM that is widely used but DDR3 RAM are replacing, so it is better to choose DDR3 RAM if possible. Factors to consider in selecting hard disk. Number 1. Capacity is more or less depending on usage. Number 2. Currently, hard disk standard is a SATA interface. Number 3. The speed of the rotating magnetic disk, or round per minute, RPM, can be divided into 2 levels to choose from, 5400 and 7200 RPM. Desktop computer should have the speed at 7200 RPM. Page 64. Number 4. If the buffer memory is high, it will be able to operate faster. Number 5. Warranty should be selected that are covered as long as possible, which is currently at 1 to 3 years. Number 6. Brand and model of hard disk is slightly different, and each brand has developed over time. However, the overall performances of each brand are good enough to use. The hard disk brands are IBM, Maxtor, Quantum, Seagate, Western Digital. Factors to consider in buying CD-ROM. Number 1. Select DVD-RW drive that can read and write both CD and DVD. Number 2. If choose a DVD-ROM drive, choose the one that can read CDR. Number 3. There are many brands of DVD-RW to choose, which almost have no difference in performances and functionalities. User can select a low cost, or select a brand that is recognized as Asus, LG, Samsung, Philips, Sony, etc. Page 65. Case and power supply. Case is a part of the computer's body that cover devices of the computer. Case is divided into horizontal case, desktop, and vertical case, tower. The most common case in the present is tower case, which is ATX, and there are various sizes which are ATX, Micro ATX, or Flex ATX. All those ATX cases have to use with the mainboard that has the same form factor with the case. The characteristics of good case. Number 1. Ventilate heat well. Number 2. Strong, durable, and not too thin. Number 3. The edge of the case should not be sharp because hand could be cut when remove or assembly. Number 4. Prevent an interference signal from outside. Number 5. Large enough to easily handle the cards on the main board. Number 6. Made from dielectric material. Number 7. Able to open the side panel to facilitate assembling the devices. Page 66. Power supply is a power resource for the devices inside the computer. The wattage is between 350 and 500 watts. Buying case and power supply. In most cases, the power supply will attach to the case when purchasing. Typically, the power supply will have wattage between 350 and 500 watts, but should select at least 350 watts for today's use. However, the power supply attached to cheap cases may not be supplied power as specified on the power supply, which could not add a variety of devices as power provided. Monitor. Monitor is used to display results from processing of the CPU through the video card. Picture quality depends on both the display card and monitor. In selecting monitor, should select quality monitor, which is large enough to suit the job, because the monitor is required to support at all-time work. Page 67. The important features of the monitor. Number 1. Dot pitch is the distance between points on the screen. The distance is less, the picture is extremely sharp. Dot pitch is between 0.24 and 0.28 millimeters. Number 2. Resolution is the number of dots or pixels on the screen that can be displayed. The more the number of dots, the more screen can be sharper. Most monitors can display the resolution in multiple modes. The minimum should be at 1024 by 768 pixels. Number 3. Refresh rate is the number of times to draw the screen in 1 second rate. The lowest refresh rate is 72 times in 1 second. If it is slower than this, the picture will be flashing, which can cause eye muscle fatigue when working at the computer for a long time. This will only affect with CRT monitor that is currently not popular. Factors in choosing a monitor. Number 1. Should choose a monitor size of 17 inches or more for general use. The size is measured diagonally. Number 2. Choose the monitor that can select the resolution in a variety of modes. Page 68. Number 3. Should choose a flat panel because images can be accounted naturally, and flat panel displays have less glare because it has the ability to reflect the light on the screen in the direction away from the eyes. Besides, it also saves space for placing. Number 4. Should choose LCD or LED monitor that provides excellent definition and detail. Keyboard. Keyboard is a device used to enter data. Keyboards price range from 200 baht or more. A high-price keyboard has included additional function buttons such as a button for working with multimedia, or may be designed to have hand placement for ease of printing or a wireless keyboard for ease of movement. Page 69. Mouse. Mouse is a necessary and fundamental device for every computer. It is priced from 100 baht. An expensive mouse has a high quality and lasts long. Mouse consists of 2 function buttons. Some may have 4 to 5 buttons. Additional buttons are buttons that will facilitate the users. There is a round wheel like car wheel between 2 buttons, which is called scroll wheel. It is used to scroll screen to work easier, rather than move the mouse to click on the scroll bar to scroll the screen. Nowadays, there is a wireless mouse that has been more popular. Speaker. Speaker is another device intended to be used because computer is used more for entertainment and education, such as using as VDO or CD player, listening to music, using in multimedia applications, or teaching materials. Page 70. Working principle of a sound card and speakers. The sound card and speakers have to work together to produce the sound by having CPU as a controller. It starts from CPU processes audio data types from software such as games, movies, and forwarded to the sound card to decrypt audio signal, then converted into an analog electrical signal to send to the speakers, which converts the electrical signal into an analog audio signal further. Factor in buying speakers. The frequency response of the speaker should cover all frequency range that humans can hear. That would be the frequency range of 20 Hz to 20,000 Hz. These days, sound cards do support many audio output. Therefore, there is a production of 3-point speaker and surround sound speaker. Page 71. Printer. Printer is a basic equipment that is widely used because it is an display output device. Nowadays, printer is cheap, but has quality to print both black and white and color, and can print out both text or images. There are 3 types of printers as follows. Number 1. Dot matrix printer is a printer that uses needles, both 9-pin and 24-pin. It is divided into a short and long stroke. This printer has a low printing cost per page with low quality, but also need to use to copy the document. Number 2. Inkjet printer is the type of printer that uses ink in printing. It has high resolution with low price and can print both black and white and color. It is the most printer commonly used today. Number 3. Laser printer is a printer that has highest resolution and printing speed. Laser printer can be divided into black and white and color. Color laser printer is more expensive than inkjet printer. Number 4. All-in-one printer is a printer that can perform many tasks in the same machine, such as photocopying, faxing, printing, and scanning. It has become more popular nowadays, and it is cheaper. Page 72. Factors in buying a printer. Number 1. The resolution is a measure of definition of printing. It is measured in dpi, dot per inch, dpi, such as 1200 by 1200 dpi. The more resolution it is, the higher contrast it will be. The selection will be based on usage. Number 2. The cost of printing per page should select printer models that are saving mode. Number 3. Print speed is another important factor because it can work faster. Number 4. should select a printer that uses separate ink cartridges. If one of the colors runs out, it will be replaced only that color. But if using tricolor cartridge, all colors of the cartridge must be replaced. Number 5. The price of the toner should not be high. Page 73. Details for buying devices. After studied and understood computer devices, the details of the devices should be listed before buying the devices. It usually can be done by asking for a brochure from Computer Store for consideration. A brochure normally has the specifications of each shop, which can be adjusted as needed. Example survey price of computer devices. Internal components, CPU, mainboard, memory, VGA card, sound card, hard disk, CD-ROM drive, case and power supply, external components, monitor, keyboard, mouse, speaker, printer. Page 74. Enter the required computer devices that want to survey cost in order to calculate the budget. The list can be made into 2 copies in order to be easier to determine because there are more options.